Hollywood's golden age, a time of glamour, fame, and cinematic magic. But behind the spotlight, some stars hid dark and disturbing secrets. These weren't just bad habits or scandals, these were the true villains of old Hollywood. Today, we uncover 13 of the most evil actors who shocked the world with what they did off-camera. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, the dashing hero of The Adventures of Robin Hood, was one of Hollywood's most admired faces, but his off-screen life was filled with darkness. Behind the charm and adventure, Flynn faced accusations of assaulting underage girls and indulging in disturbing behavior that shocked the public. He was also rumored to have Nazi sympathies during World War II, allegedly keeping connections with German officials. Though he was never officially convicted, these accusations destroyed his reputation and haunted him throughout his career. Known for his arrogance, hard drinking, and womanizing, Flynn's real-life actions sharply contrasted his heroic image. By the time he died in 1959, Hollywood's beloved rogue had become one of its most infamous figures. Fatty Arbuckle. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was once one of Hollywood's biggest silent film stars, earning millions and adored by audiences for his comedic talent. But in 1921, his life and career collapsed after a shocking scandal. During a wild party at a San Francisco hotel, actress Virginia Rappe fell ill and later died, leading to Arbuckle being accused of her assault and murder. The media turned the case into a circus, branding him as a monster before any trial began. Although Arbuckle was eventually acquitted after 3 trials and declared innocent, the damage was done. Hollywood banned his films, studios dropped him, and his name became synonymous with disgrace. The tragedy ended the career of one of early cinema's brightest, and most misunderstood, stars. Wallace Beery. Wallace Beery was one of MGM's biggest stars, known for his lovable roles in films like The Champ and Treasure Island. But behind the camera, he was far from the gentle giant audiences adored. Beery was infamous for his violent temper and cruel treatment of co-stars, especially younger actors. He was accused of bullying child performers and physically attacking fellow actors during arguments. One of Hollywood's darkest rumors even linked him to the brutal 1937 assault on comedian Ted Healy, who later died from his injuries. Though Beery was never charged, the whispers followed him for years. Colleagues described him as mean-spirited and selfish, a man who hid behind charm and fame. Off-screen, Wallace Beery's behavior was far more sinister than any villain he ever played. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, the beloved icon of silent cinema, was adored worldwide for his creation of The Tramp, a character that captured humor and humanity. Yet, behind the genius and charm lay a disturbing personal life that nearly destroyed his career. Chaplin was infamous for his obsession with very young women, often marrying teenage girls and engaging in relationships that today would be considered deeply inappropriate. His scandalous affair with a 16-year-old actress, Leda Gray, led to a humiliating divorce filled with shocking allegations of infidelity, cruelty, and manipulation. The publicity from that case almost ended his Hollywood reign. Chaplin's political views and rumored communist sympathies further tarnished his image, leading to his exile from the United States. Despite his undeniable artistic brilliance, Chaplin's personal life revealed a man whose actions were far from the innocence his on-screen persona represented. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was one of Hollywood's most respected leading men, known for his powerful performances and deep emotional range in films like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and Boys Town. But behind his calm, dignified image, Tracy struggled with severe inner demons. He was a lifelong alcoholic, often drinking to the point of blackouts and violent rages. His relationship suffered terribly. He was known to be physically and emotionally abusive, especially toward the women closest to him. Though married, Tracy lived separately from his wife for decades, while maintaining a long, complicated affair with Katharine Hepburn. His addiction and guilt over his personal failures consumed him, leaving a man broken behind his success. Despite his talent and acclaim, Spencer Tracy's private life was haunted by darkness, revealing a far more tormented soul than the noble characters he so often portrayed on screen. Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby, the smooth-voiced singer who defined an era with classics like White Christmas, was adored by millions as America's perfect family man. But behind the microphone and movie screens, a much darker truth existed. His sons later revealed that Crosby ruled his home with fear, enforcing strict discipline that bordered on emotional and physical abuse. They described a father who was cold, controlling, and obsessed with perfection, a man who publicly smiled but privately shattered his children's confidence. One son, Gary Crosby, even published a tell-all book exposing the trauma they endured, claiming that love in their home was replaced with intimidation. While fans saw a calm, gentle entertainer, his family remembered a tyrant who demanded total obedience. Bing Crosby's golden voice made him a legend, but his cruel behavior behind closed doors left a legacy far from the warmth of his Christmas songs. John Wayne. John Wayne, often hailed as the ultimate symbol of American masculinity, starred in countless westerns and war films that made him a national icon. But behind his rugged hero image, Wayne carried views that have since deeply tarnished his legacy. In a 1971 Playboy interview, he openly expressed racist and sexist beliefs, declaring support for white supremacy and showing disdain toward Native Americans, Black Americans, and women's rights activists. His words shocked even his fans, revealing a man whose personal values clashed with the ideals of equality and respect. Wayne was also known for bullying younger actors on set and using his influence to silence those who disagreed with him. While his on-screen persona represented courage and honor, his real-life attitudes reflected a darker, intolerant side. Today, John Wayne remains one of Hollywood's most controversial figures, a legend shadowed by his own prejudices. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, forever remembered as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, was the embodiment of charm, confidence, and masculine appeal during Hollywood's golden age. But behind that irresistible smile was a man surrounded by controversy and dark rumors. In 1933, while filming The Call of the Wild, actress Loretta Young reportedly became pregnant with his child after an incident that was far from consensual. The scandal was carefully hidden to protect Gable's reputation. Young disappeared for months, later claiming she adopted her own baby. Another rumor suggested Gable's reckless behavior on a film set led to the accidental death of a crew member, though the studio covered it up. Known for his arrogance, heavy drinking, and volatile temper, Gable's off-screen behavior contrasted sharply with his gentlemanly image. Hollywood adored him, but the truth behind his charm revealed a far darker, more complicated man. William Holden. William Holden was one of Hollywood's most talented and magnetic leading men, starring in classics like Sunset Boulevard and Stalag 17. But behind his effortless charm and success, he battled deep personal demons. Holden was a lifelong alcoholic, often drinking heavily on and off set, which affected his relationships and career. His addiction fueled violent temperaments, reckless behavior, and moments of cruelty toward those closest to him. Friends described him as a man torn between brilliance and self-destruction. In his later years, isolation and regret consumed him. Tragically, in 1981, Holden died alone in his apartment after a drunken fall caused a fatal head injury. His body wasn't discovered for days. The world mourned the loss of a Hollywood icon, but behind the fame lay a man broken by his own vices. William Holden's life became a haunting reflection of Hollywood's dark, destructive underbelly. Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis, known as The Killer, was one of rock and roll's wildest pioneers, a piano-playing firestorm who changed music forever. But his personal life became one of the biggest scandals in entertainment history. In 1958, at the height of his fame, Lewis shocked the world when it was revealed that he had secretly married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown, while still legally married to another woman. The revelation destroyed his career overnight. Concerts were cancelled, radio stations banned his songs, and fans turned against him. Though he later tried to rebuild his image and even appeared in a few films, the scandal permanently stained his reputation. Behind his talent and charisma was a man ruled by recklessness, anger, and obsession. Jerry Lee Lewis's explosive career became a cautionary tale, proof that fame and genius can easily be undone by moral collapse. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier is often remembered as one of the greatest actors in cinematic and theatrical history, celebrated for his commanding performances in Hamlet, Rebecca, and Wuthering Heights. But behind the brilliance was a man feared for his cruelty and manipulation. Olivier was known to emotionally torment his co-stars, believing that breaking them down would create more authentic performances. Even his wife, Vivien Leigh, was not spared. He often belittled her struggles with mental illness and treated her as a rival rather than a partner. Colleagues described him as arrogant, cold, and obsessed with control. He pushed actors to tears on set, claiming it was for the art. While Olivier's genius shaped modern acting, his ruthless methods left emotional scars on many who worked with him. His legacy remains a mix of unmatched talent and the dark cost of his relentless perfectionism. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando revolutionized acting with his raw, emotional performances in classics like A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather. But away from the screen, he was infamous for his manipulative and often cruel behavior. Brando was known to humiliate directors and co-stars, deliberately sabotaging scenes or refusing to follow scripts to assert control. On the set of Mutiny on the Bounty, his arrogance and defiance caused production chaos, costing the studio millions. Even more disturbing were allegations of emotional and physical abuse in his personal relationships. In later years, Brando's private life became a storm of scandals, troubled family dynamics, violence, and tragedy surrounded him. Though his artistic brilliance changed cinema forever, Brando's ego and destructive tendencies left deep scars on those around him. His legacy remains a haunting contrast between creative genius and the darkness of unchecked power. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum, the rugged star of film noir classics like Out of the Past and The Night of the Hunter, built his career on playing rebellious antiheroes, but his off-screen life was just as wild. Known as one of Hollywood's original bad boys, Mitchum had a deep disdain for authority and a dangerous streak of self-destruction. In 1948, he was arrested for marijuana possession, a scandal that nearly ended his career, yet he shrugged it off with his trademark indifference. Mitchum was infamous for brawling with directors, womanizing, and heavy drinking that often led to violent outbursts. He treated fame with contempt, once saying, "The only difference between me and the other actors is that I do my pretending off the screen." Despite his undeniable talent, Robert Mitchum's life blurred the line between performance and reality, making him both a legend and a warning of Hollywood excess. These were the faces America adored, but behind the fame was darkness few dared to see. Hollywood's golden glow often hid its most chilling secrets. Which one shocked you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.